Donna Gambino, and I'm here today to talk to you about sleepy butt syndrome, or dormant butt syndrome, or gluteal amnesia. All mean the same thing. So what is it? Well, one of the perils of prolonged sitting throughout the day, aside from your increased risk of diabetes, heart attack, poor posture, is this sleepy butt syndrome. So what does it actually mean? It means that your glutes actually shut off, go to sleep, and they don't work. Why? Well, there's a couple big reasons why. One of them, I want you to think about when I talked about posture in the upper body. When we flex forward, these muscles in the shoulders here get tight and strong, and the muscles in the back get lengthened and weak. So the same thing happens when we're sitting in this 90-degree posture. Our hip flexors get very tight and strong, and our gluteal muscles get lengthened and weak. All right, when those hip flexors become strong, they're a dominant muscle, and so that back muscle, those hip muscles, they go off and they don't work. And the glutes are not made for sitting for prolonged periods of time with compression on them. And when you have that decrease in range of motion of the hip because of the tight hip flexors, it doesn't allow the glutes to get the good contraction because it's being pulled forward and lengthened. So it's not contracting strong enough to be able to actually make a good muscle contraction. So that's one of the reasons you can get this sleepy butt syndrome. Number two is sitting for the prolonged period of time. Now, I want you to think of this like a panini sandwich. You have your glutes and your nerves and everything, and you're just sitting on this, and you have compression and temperature, and you're putting a lot of pressure on those nerves, which can cause irritation. Okay, now there's a lot of nerves that run through the glutes. One big one, your sciatic nerve trunk. Okay, it's a big trunk and a nerve, and you can get that sciatic pain. What you'll feel if you're having this problem from the compression is basically numb buns. So you'll feel this paresthesia, which is like a tingling numbness that happens either short term or long term. It can be fleeting, and you'll feel it, when you stand up, and you'll feel this kind of tingling. And this irritation of the nerve decreases the ability of the gluteals to really contract adequately, and you don't get the proper force with the muscle to do its work. They shut down due to lack of activity and decreased stimulus because you're sitting on your butt all day. Other muscles have to do the work then. Okay, so your glutes shut off, and then the body has this really cool, sensor that knows, like, okay, that muscle's not doing its job, so let's have some other muscles help. So then we create this thing called synergistic dominance, where other muscles start to do the work of the glutes, and they're not meant to, and they're not capable of doing that hard work where they support the spine and the back and the hips. So that can be a problem, and that sets you up for a lot of different things. So how do you know if you have sleepy butt? Well, these are a lot of different things: hip pain, back pain, lower extremity pain. Okay, you may notice your butt has started to flatten out. Okay, so you may also notice you have a decreased ability to walk long periods of time. You get fatigued quicker because the glutes aren't doing their work. They're not causing a force to create you to walk for long periods of time. So that can be a really big problem. When exercising, you may notice that, here's an example: you go to the gym after you've been sitting all day, you decide you're going to do a good workout, and you go and do squats, you do leg presses, deadlifts, all these things. And the next day, you don't feel your glutes have worked. You feel a tight low back, you feel your quadriceps and your hamstrings, but the glutes, there's nothing there. You don't feel it. Say, for example, in Pilates, you're doing shoulder bridge and you go to lift up, and you immediately get this cramping in your hamstrings. That could be a tell that your glutes are not turning on adequately because the hamstrings are doing the work of the glutes. And in that bridge movement, you're supposed to be using mostly your gluteal muscles. Okay, so how do you treat it? Well, we're going to get into that in this next video, the exercises, but for right now, what you can do is every hour of sitting, get up 10 minutes and move around. Whether it's just walking around your house in circles, getting your steps in, or going up and down the stairs a few times. You can do glute sets, which is just squeezing the glutes. If you're sitting, say you can't get up from a meeting in that hour, just nice little contractions of the glutes, and then relaxation 10, 20, 50 times. Doesn't matter how many times you do it, just do it. Stretch out the hip flexors. If you're sitting for a prolonged period of time, you need to stretch out those hip flexors. They're going to get tight, especially if you're a cycler, somebody that does spin class. distance runners, you're using those hip flexors quite strongly, and you're going to get that dominance of the hip flexors where it can cause the glutes to shut off. And that's going to create those imbalances. You're going to check your flexibility. Once you get those the hip flexors stretched out, then you're really going to want to go, really strong on increasing the strength of your glutes. Okay, so if your hip flexors remain tight and you try to strengthen your glutes, remember what I told you, you're not going to get the adequate force to lift and contract those muscles because they're going to be restricted by those hip flexors pulling forward. Okay, so you have to stretch the hip flexors out first. That's the first order of business. You also want to check for imbalance of your glutes because you got one on each side. So you want to see if one's stronger than the other. That can create some torquing and changes in your contraction of your muscles as you walk, and especially in controlling the stability of the back and the pelvis. So one way to check this is by doing a single leg bridge. So you can lay on your back, bend your knees, lift up into a bridge, that's with two legs, and then bring one leg up to like a 90-degree position, a tabletop position, and then just lift and lower your pelvis off the floor. Count how many times you can do that till you're fatigued. Write that number down or remember it, and then go try the other side. See which one's stronger. Also make sure that while you're doing that, you can keep your pelvis nice and level, and see if you can maintain that stability and also do that bridge. I think if you have an imbalance, you're going to notice quite quickly that there's a difference from side to side, and then that can give you a little hint on the strength of your glutes. All right, so next time we're going to go through a few of the exercises to help strengthen those glutes specifically. We'll go through the hip flexor stretches and then also the gluteal strengthening exercises. So I'd really like to know if you think you have sleepy butt syndrome, so let me know in the comments below. And also if you have any questions or ideas for videos, I'd love to hear them. Thanks for joining me, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.